Hello, good evening, Guyana. This is your regular host, Campbell, and we have a very packed program for you tonight on Poetry News. We have a very esteemed guest. She is none other than Miss Maya Angelou, and she would have played a very pivotal role in The Color Purple. She's a poet, an author, and an actress. So, welcome to the show, Miss Angelou. It's a pleasure having you.
Yes, thank you. Nice to be here.
Now I know since you're gracing our studios with your presence, we don't want to keep you waiting. So let's just get right into it. You would have done notable work, and one of them is woman work. It's a poem, correct?
Right, that's correct.
Okay, it's very influential in today's society, and the content is very profound. So I have a few questions.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get right into it without further ado. First,
Right.
woman work. This reflects on the struggles of women in a particular historical and cultural context. How did the societal expectations of women during this time you wrote the poem influence its content?
Oh, well, I would like to say that during the time that I would have written woman work, we know that that was a time where women were more, I would say, domesticated. Our roles were domestic, and it was heavily dictated by society, especially the role of the colored woman, right? Because that transition from slavery to not being enslaved, there was still some dynamics in the way that a woman should be. So those dynamics would have influenced the words and the content of the poem overall, and the reason that I chose to do it, you know, we were basically the backbones of our family, and I would say that we still are the backbones of our families. And it's rarely acknowledged. It's rarely acknowledged that women get the recognition that we deserve for being just the mere backbone. So I would like to say that that is what encouraged me to write this poem in this particular way.
Okay, very well said. The poem vividly captures the endless chores and responsibilities women face. What inspired you to write about labor and emotional weight of women's daily lives? How do you see these experiences evolving over time?
Oh wow, that's a very important question. The daily lives of the grind of doing chores, they're, you know, sometimes they become relentless for women. You know, our responsibilities, they're endless at times. And these are just the universal experiences for women, especially the working class women. I drew inspiration from the women in my family and the women in my community even. And they carried heavy loads. They carried a burden, both physically and emotionally. And over time, while certain aspects of the labor, they have changed, the pressure on women, it's still there for us to balance everything, you know. The pressure still remains for us to be able to balance all of these things along with our work. And the poem is just my way of acknowledging the struggles and acknowledging the issues that women would face in this way.
Well said, well said.
Yes.
Your poem highlights themes such as resilience, exhaustion, and the longing for freedom. What message were you hoping to convey about women's inner strength despite their burden?
All right. So you listed quite a few themes, but I really like the one with resilience because that one really speaks to the poem. So let's focus on that. The theme of resilience, it just runs deeply throughout the entire poem. And women just have an extraordinary ability to endure things, to get things done regardless of what situation we are placed in. And we create beauty out of ugly situations, you know. And my aim was to just highlight the strength, this strength that women have, to highlight it, and to also shed light on the emotional toll that we are faced with despite having this type of strength. And the poem, it just generally speaks to the duality of the despair and the hopelessness sometimes, that the despair and the hope, not hopelessness, the hope that defines the true meaning of resilience.
Okay, that was well articulated. Thanks a lot.
You're most welcome.
Halfway there, we're at our fourth question.
Okay.
It reads, you use imagery extensively in the poem, especially in describing nature as a form of escape. How did you craft these vivid images, and what role does nature play in providing solace or contrast to the harshness of women's lives?
Wow, that's a very deep question. However, I can answer it. So, imagery is it's powerful in this poem because it transports the readers directly to the scene. It allows you to visualize and to just imagine everything that I would have said and stated. And nature serves as both a contrast to the harshness of the chores and the source of escape and peace that women tend to have sometimes. And when I speak of the sunshine and the rain or the snow in my poem, I am offering a glimpse of freedom, a world where beyond the confines of labor, nature to me is just a universal refuge for women.
So it symbolizes a lot.
Right, it does. It really does.
Okay, that was well said. Thanks for opening our understanding.
No problem at all.
Okay, so this poem is actually making me want to even read it more, get involved into the work
I'm glad.
that you would have done.
Yes.
Very stimulating.
It really is.
Which brings me to my fifth question.
Okay.
The repetition in the first stanza emphasizes the overwhelming nature of a woman's daily tasks. Why did you choose this technique? How does it enhance the poem's overall impact?
Well, the repetition in the first stanza, it just reflects the monotony and the relentlessness of, a woman's daily work. It mirrors how exhausting it can be to feel the repeat of doing the same things over every day and, without any stopping. But it structures the poem in such a way that I wanted readers to experience just a fraction of the overwhelming feeling and the overwhelming nature of a woman's daily tasks. So that is the purpose of using repetition in such a way.
Awesome.
Yes.
That was incredible.
Thank
Our sixth question.
All yours.
The tone of the poem
Right.
shifts from the frantic and pressive in the first stanza to a calm and hopeful mood in the following verses. Was this contrast intentional? And what do you hope readers take away from the tonal shift?
Well, first of all, it was very intentional. And the first stanzas, the franticness in the first stanza, it comes off almost breathless to our readers. And it just reflects the pressures that we face. That was the intention of it, to reflect the pressure that women are under doing these daily tasks. But as the poem progresses, there's a shift, yes, and it's more calming in tone. And this change, it just symbolizes the woman's desire for peace and the woman's desire for a world where these things are balanced, where she doesn't have to do all of this, where it isn't so stressful. So that was just a reminder to the readers that, even almost in chaos, we can be hopeful. We can find the beauty in very harsh situations. So that was the intention. That was my intention.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the 6 best answers I ever had answered on this show.
Thank you, thank you,
You're an awesome woman, I must reiterate that.
thank you.
Which is going to bring us to our seventh question. However, before we go into our seventh question, we're going to return after these messages. Welcome back, Diana, to Poetry and You. And for those who did not join us from the beginning, we are actually having the benefit to have the incomparable Maya Angelou grace our studios. And we're actually dealing exclusively with the poem Woman Work. For those who do not know, this lady, she's an author, actress, Emmy and Grammy Award winning holder. And with her being here, this is a once in a lifetime experience that we're cherishing. So feast your eyes on none other than the incomparable Miss Maya Angelou. Which brings us to our seventh question. The poem has varied rhythm, with the first stanza being fast-paced and the subsequent ones slowing down. How did you use rhyme and rhythm to reflect the demanding reality and the yearning for peace in the poem?
Wow, that's a big one. Well, the rhythm in the first stanza, it's quick and it's more erratic, just like the endless tasks that were described in that same stanza. If you can see the connection there, you know. And as the poem progresses, the rhythm it slows down, as you mentioned, and the rhyme, it just helps to create like lyrical quality to the poem, almost like a song, if you wish, and perhaps a coping mechanism for many of the women as they work through the struggles that they are facing of their daily lives, you know, the labor that they're going through. So the rhyme and the rhythm, it's just to create this relaxation when reading it, so that when persons see that transition, you know, it's more significant to the words of the poem itself.
Very well said. You're a marvelous lady. And this
Thank you.
brings me to my ultimate question.
Right.
Woman work does not follow a strict traditional form.
Right.
How does the free structure of the poem contribute to its themes? And do you think this reflects the unstructured and unpredictable nature of women's labor?
Oh wow. Well, the free structure, it's quite deliberate. It was deliberately written that way because you know, women's life, it's filled with juggling various things, you know, numerous responsibilities, let's say that, and it's often unpredictable and chaotic at times. So the strict poetic form, it would not have captured the chaotic nature and the unpredictable nature of a woman's life. So the lack of the structure, it just mirrors that unpredictability, and it, you know, it also mirrors the challenges as well. And while women, they're still leaving room for moments of beauty and grace, ultimately the poem is about recognition, the recognition that we don't get. So that attributes to the whole freeness of the structure not being one way, right? Because that is the only way I could have been able to mirror the general idea behind the poem.
Okay, Miss Mia. Mia Angelou. Some say Mia, some say Maya.
Okay.
Okay. Either which way, you're a very beautiful woman, and we do appreciate your time, effort, and your patience.
Thank you.
And before you go, just permit me to ask you this question. I always wanted to know.
Sure.
You know everything about poetry, you know everything about Limelight. You're very famous for your work and your contribution to English language theater. And this poem, everyone knows it. Since you would have written this poem, it must have some sort of an impact on you. Now, when persons come up to you in the street and ask for your autographs, so on and so forth, and persons even recite this poem in tributes to you, how does this poem impact you as an individual?
First of all, I don't know everything in poetry, but thank you for that recognition. And I think generally I would just like to say that it has impacted me to look beyond the general role of a woman, because if it weren't for those transitions and those steps that were taken, I don't think women would have been able to have a voice, as we do today. So put aside and just not focus on all of the struggles and the responsibilities that are typical to women. It just encourages me to look for peace, look for beauty in the situations that, even though I may not see it, it just encourages me to press on and push on and know that I am more than just chores, or I am more than just what society expects of the mere woman. And I have to push myself to become beyond that, to prove to society that I am more. Because I can't have all of these achievements and all of these things and I'm sitting on it, so I have to show them that being woman means more.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Angela. Once again, it's a pleasure for you to come here and share your wonderful experiences with us and the poem.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Guyana.
And that is going to bring the curtains down on Poetry and You for this segment. It was lovely being here. Ciao for now, Guyana.